how do you explain that in this article in La Presse, when Mr. El Khoury was asked if he had a link with your leadership race, and he said no, and not only no, he insisted, the verb here that is used, marteler. How can you explain that he was so sure that he had nothing to do with your leadership race, and then he had a solicitor's certificate? Isn't it strange for you? Does it smell good?
He never said that he didn't raise money. That's exactly.
You're not nervous that he was not able to be honest with a simple question.
That's your interpretation.
Well, it is in the article.
Can I answer you? Can I answer your question? Can you let me answer your question?
There you go. A little contentious today. That is probably the third press conference Pablo Rodriguez has given literally in the last 3 days, still trying to deal with this issue over Mauro Risky and the money being paid allegedly for voting. James Mennie of the Montreal Gazette is on the line. Jim, you have some breaking news on this story?
Absolutely. I think we're going to have another press conference tomorrow where Mr. Rodriguez will be asked about what apparently TVA is reporting that UPAC, the permanent anti-corruption squad, that's the cops, are investigating the crisis around the Liberal Party, specifically focusing on what could be perceived as irregularities in the leadership race that basically installed Mr. Rodriguez as leader. So you can add this to the investigations that are being launched by Elections Quebec, the Director General of Elections, the Ethics Commissioner for the National Assembly. Oh, yes, and the external investigation that's been requested by Pablo Rodriguez himself to examine all of this. But, man, I'm glad that we came in with that clip because it goes to show you, yes, it's contentious. And, normally in press conferences, reporters don't lose it. But you got to admit, this story keeps getting weirder every day. Yeah. The contradictions keep growing, Aaron. And it's like, and there's another clip which we didn't use, but at the end of the press conference, Mr. Rodriguez is asked, how are you dealing with this? Do you think this is affecting your leadership? He goes, no, I'm being completely transparent. And then he lists over and over and over and over and over again every single press conference and scrum that he's done since this began.
Jim, stop right there. I used that clip off the top. This is the clip you're referring to. Take a listen.
Transparency. That's the only way. Being transparent. I'm here. I answer all your questions. Yesterday, I was here for 40 minutes. I did a scrum last week, an hour. Another one, 35 minutes. I went to Tout le monde en parle. I went to CTV. I went to Radio-Canada. I went to LCN. I went to Nouveau. I'm everywhere. Transparency. That's the key.
He's everywhere, Jim. He's everywhere.
He's like the Scarlet Pimpernel.
That's right.
The problem is, does that sound, and I'm sorry, I got nothing. I don't know Pablo Rodriguez from a hole in the ground, okay? Does that sound like a guy who's in charge of the situation right now? Because that sounds like a guy who's wondering, when does the next ceiling tile break off and miss me by a few inches? And this is the problem. There's all kinds of things that are going on in the National Assembly right now, fundamental questions that are being asked. And no, it's some people are saying, well, this is a journalist created. No, it isn't. And it's interesting to note that this is beginning to transcend the idea that this is an HR issue, because Mauro Risky fired a chief of staff that had essentially been appointed by Pablo Rodriguez, and he wasn't consulted on it. No. Okay? Everyone hit their brakes. I will presume in this particular instance, Aaron, to speak for most, if not all of our listeners, people hit the brakes when they heard buying votes. Okay? Now, it turns out that, it's not illegal, but guess what? People are still gobsmacked by this, and I think there's enough there that the air has to be cleared. This taint is now extending from the Liberal Party to the rest of the National Assembly, because let's face it, I don't think it's an unfair question to say, well, if this happened in the Liberal Party, as it happened elsewhere, apparently it's not against the law to buy votes. So what else, and all of a sudden, all those people who call up and say, I don't vote, Aaron, they're all corrupt. All of a sudden, they may be onto something, even though I believe they aren't. But this is where we are. And this is why I dread one of the guidelines, Aaron, that believe it or not, I have guidelines when I do this show. And it's Carson's rule of comedy. He had a rule. Johnny Carson had a rule when he's doing his monologue, no more than 3 jokes on the same topic. And I've also tried to avoid visiting a topic more than 3 times. But the Liberals are making it impossible because it is overtaking all the other events.
Yeah.
It is grabbing it's taking all the oxygen away from the functioning of government in Quebec. I'm sure that François Legault has been going home for the past 10 days and heaving a huge sigh of relief, at least for the time being. The spotlight's not on him and the absolutely awful job his government is doing. But man, oh man, talk about going from bad to worse. And I'm not trying to be flip here, but who in the hell knows what we're going to find out tomorrow?
The other thing, Jim, is I hear you sort of run through this now. I think to myself, and I think we mentioned this yesterday, this idea, he was talking at the time, Pablo Rodriguez, about, Marwa potentially hurting the party, right, overall.
Yeah.
You hear the words UPAC and you hear the words liberal, and I think most people, their minds are then instantly made up. It's going to be a while till we eventually find out what's on here. You almost have to wonder if for the good of the party, maybe Pablo says, you know what, for the time being, I will step down. What do you think?
There's a part of me that says, what's the over-under on who leaves first, whether it's Pablo Rodriguez or François Legault? But you're right. I mean, I'm sorry. And like I say, I don't have any skin in this game. I don't care who leads the Provincial Liberal Party. Right. But I got to tell you right now, I'm looking at this situation right now, and the more, with each passing day, the liabilities that appear to be linked to the leadership of Pablo Rodriguez seem to grow. And that reporter, and forgive me, I've quite forgotten her name, but the reporter that we heard kind of getting a little sporty with Rodriguez when she was questioning him, believe me, that tone is going to get worse because the contradictions just keep on growing. And when you hold a press conference, with all those press conferences, as we say on this show, Aaron, don't hold a press conference if you've got nothing to say, or your response is going to be, I don't know, I'm looking into it, because that's not going to help your cause. But once again, I didn't know I was going to be talking about UPAC until 2 minutes before I came on the show. And now, once again, tomorrow, who knows what we're going to be talking about.
By the way, that reporter, I believe, is CBC. Kathy Sine, I think, is the reporter.
Oh, man.
Does a great job.
Marvelous job.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Talk about something else happening in provincial politics today. This time, it's the Premier directly getting involved in the whole doctor's mess over Bill 2, which, of course, begs the question, where's Christian Dubé? He's the health minister.
As I say in my note to you, Aaron, the tire tracks notwithstanding, Christian Dubé maintains he was not thrown under a bus. Of course he was thrown under a bus. The specialists are saying, on veut rien savoir de Monsieur Dubé, s'il vous plaît. And guess what? In this particular instance, the damage that this idiot law is doing to the government, Monsieur Legault, our premier, decided, I think I'll just take over from here. And this is it. And he's saying now, let's go back to basics. So what, is this going to be another climb down? Because if it is, my fundamental question here isn't a matter of how much doctors are going to get paid, or whether we'll be starting from basics again, or whether this will end happily. My question is, what about the 300 or so doctors who apparently have already left, Aaron? What about them? Are they going to come back, or are they just fed up with this fly by the seat of someone else's pants approach this government has to everything? Bill 2 is one embarrassment. We're running into another one on a similar scale with Bill 3, which is what some people are basically describing as Labor Minister Jean Boulet's union-busting law. And in fact, even in his case, now apparently after a very stormy legislative committee hearing where he was the FTQ walked up one side of the guy and down the other, and now he's, maybe I might be looking at changing some things in there. This is it. They write this stuff down. They don't think of the fault. They don't think of the consequences. And now we've got two. We've got the Premier of Quebec perhaps trying with spit and bubble gum to mend fences with the province's doctors, because God knows our healthcare system is so great. And now you've got the Labor Minister saying, I know I kind of poked all the unions through the bars with a stick, but maybe I'll rethink that tomorrow. This is where we are, Aaron. Oh, yeah, and did I mention UPAC investigating the Liberals?
I think you might have off the top. Yeah, for people who missed that, I'm going to ask that as the question in a second. By the way, interesting to know with respect to Jean Boulet, I guess you can take this as a feather in his cap today, was called up by the union saying he is the worst Labor minister in the history of Quebec.
There you go.
There you go. Somebody's doing something right.
By God, that's saying something, Eric.
Wow.
They just don't hand those out to anybody.
Yeah, there you go. Jim, thank you. I appreciate it. Let me ask you, I basically asked you this, but I'm going to make this my question. I wasn't planning on, but might as well. With UPAC involved now, so let's just give me your take, right? If you had your, what do you usually say, if you had a buck to bet here, is Pablo done or not?
You know what? Right now, unless he turns around tomorrow and has a press conference where the answers are more than one sentence long, okay? In my opinion, I don't see how he can get out of it.
Okay. I will leave it at that. James Mennie, the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Demand.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.